Alright, time for another DraftPhysics.com video presentation. I gotta check the volume. Yeah, sorry. It's always something. And debatephysics.com, yes. Uh, Lots of arguments made, lots of counter arguments not made. That's right. And no, they ought to just make the concessions and just concede. Come on, it's bad science, it's bad physics. Physics should be about what the evidence says, not what speculation that's just unbounded. It should be really bounded speculation. Again, this is detective work. It's got to be done carefully, and they just couldn't care less about that careful part. Paying attention to variables and doing experiments, in multiple ways to demonstrate that there is no doubt about it. So let's just understand physics has never dropped 4 pounds 1 foot and 1 pound 4 feet. Okay, that's Leibniz's premise that those are equal amounts of energy. They've never crashed any cars. They've never done a tug of war between a 5 mass going 10 and a 10 mass going 5. They've never taken an 8-pound bowling ball and thrown it twice as fast as a 16-pound ball and proven that it has twice as much energy. They've never figured out how to make a ballistic pendulum that can collect more than 0.06% of the kinetic energy of a bullet. You could just go on and on. And it's all just really shabby science. If they looked into the history, they'd see it was shabby arguments made that nobody knew exactly what the fuck they were talking about 300 years ago when it came to energy. And that's just the truth. All right, so let's move on. So it just became whatever became. Whoever the popular people are, that's what the jargon was. Okay, and that's not the way it's supposed to work. So it's just a religion. It's just a belief system. It's not really science. And that's the truth of it. All right, so let's continue with some stupid comments. Now, I tried to comment linking to the videos I made, and the comments fail to stick, so I don't know whether I'm blocked. But clearly I'm being prevented from doing what I was able to do before, so it appears that way anyway. In answer to your stupid question, so I asked 2 questions, okay, perfectly legitimate questions. The tug of war between the 5 mass and the 10 mass, what do you think is going to happen? And I asked about, a rocket and what exactly lands us on the moon. If you calculate the kinetic energy of the thrust, it'll give you a different answer about how much energy you're producing per second than if you calculate it as momentum. So the kinetic energy and the momentum theories have different predictions about how much thrust, how long you have to leave a thruster on. All right, just a fact. All right, so they both can't land you on the moon. Only one of them can. All right, and so it's a simple enough question. I'm quite certain it was momentum, okay, because momentum creates the equal and opposite reaction that Newton talked about in the third law, and kinetic energy obviously doesn't. The ballistic pendulum being the obvious piece of evidence saying, no, it don't happen. Again, they have done some car crash evidence too, so the car crashes don't show it. All right. So, let's find the newest comment. All right, so we have the last one from Jerry Hall where he conceded basically the argument. He said, it's not going to win the tug of war. Then he said they can't win a tug of war, which is obviously nonsense. Because if I took the 20 mass going 10, which would be the same as the 5 mass the 5 mass the 5 mass going 10 is the same as a 20 mass going 5 in terms of kinetic energy. 20 mass going 5. The kinetic energies are equal between those two. And it's kind of, I think any idiot knows, that the 20 mass going 5 is going to decisively win that tug of war. So again, you fail. All right, so Falwell comes back with this nonsense. He doesn't come anywhere close to answering the question. In answer to your stupid question, what makes things move, K-E or P? And he says, by definition, neither of them. So what does that even mean? Where's the definition? These are supposed to be motion. Motion causes motion. Where does motion fail to cause motion? I mean, that doesn't make any sense. They have force. They're going to apply a force because they're moving masses. So what are you talking about? I mean, it's just so stupid. So I guess I should just throw in here what this moron believes. Okay, so, just to make the point a little clearer. Okay. So we need to put the other camera on. I guess I could pause for that, but fuck it. I don't feel like it. Alright, so this is what he believes. So he thinks that if I have a scale, alright, I put a mass on it, I now have 1 unit of energy. As I put 1 unit of mass on, I have 1 unit of energy in the scale, 1e. And if I do the same exact thing, I leave this one on, and I do the same exact thing and put another one on, okay, he believes that I now have 4 units of energy. That's what he believes. So he believes if I tilted this, right, after I compress the spring twice as much, and it will compress twice as much, that's undeniable, and I tilted that scale, so I just tilt the scale. So I lock it in this position, so it's twice as compressed. I lock it in that position, and I tilt the scale. By his theory, I can push 4 things. The same velocity that the one would, one would bounce off of at. Yeah, so that's the tricky part. I guess I won't bother with that example in this case. But clearly, it doesn't happen that way, right? There's not something magical about these are the same units of mass. I have 2 units of mass. He says I have 4 units of energy. So you can get right there. That's all you need to know. That's silly. That's stupid. It doesn't happen that way. You don't get 1 unit of energy here and 3 units of energy here. It's the same exact mass, the same gravitational potential. It can only be 2 units of energy. It can't be 4 units of energy. All right. But he says he's proven otherwise. Obviously, they do these spring experiments. I mean, I think the last one he did, there's a spring, and he has it in some sort of container of some kind. But he doesn't have it, like Gosling, he doesn't have the spring attached to the bottom, which, just seems to be encouraging the fact that you're going to launch the entire spring and the mass together. That the spring doesn't know that it's supposed to be pushing in both directions, and so it's probable that it's just going to push in the one direction because you've prevented it from being obliged, okay, essentially being attached to the ground. So you're just changing the center of mass of the spring, and then it expands after it's pushed the object up. Then it expands this way because there's nothing in its way anymore. So you really should attach the spring and then do the experiment, but whatever. It's just, there's no point. These people leave up videos that have obvious flaws in them. They don't care, so they're just not truth seekers. They're seeking to propagandize for their silly nonsense theories, and that's all they're doing. All right, so back to where we was. That's close enough. All right, so no answer there, right? So, 2 simple questions. Complete evasion of the subject. All right. See, I think you blocked me because I asked something like, how is the squared second in the... You should know what you asked, but you asked it 3 times. So he made sock accounts that were obvious sock accounts. They were... I could show you the exact title, but they were something like energy is conserved, or, they were so directed exactly to my channel and no other channel. So I blocked you because of that. Clearly you were blocked for some reason before that. You created sock accounts so you could just type more of the same drony shit. All right? And, clearly, as I've demonstrated millions of times, I am totally uninterested in wasting a whole bunch of time dissecting exactly when and how you perverted all of this, right? We know the Newton has a squared seconds in it. By definition. Why would a weight have a squared second in it? Does that make any sense to you? So 100 grams, the weight of 100 grams somehow has to be quantified as meters, kilograms, seconds squared. Why the fuck would it be? Why would you qualify 100 grams that way? The weight of 100 grams. It's nonsense. So I go eat through all these. But obviously the thing they have all in common is squaring seconds. And I've pointed out kind of clearly that there's no geometry for a squared second. It can't possibly be something real in the universe. So why do you think it has to be essential to some formula when it can't be a real concept? There's no such thing. There's no way anything can square a second. It's not a, you can't square a unit of time. All right, it can't ever be a sensible thing to do. I mean, truly coherent. It can be incidentally, now and then you could get a right answer, because the squared second is really just meaning you squared the, like in the kinetic energy formula. It wouldn't realistically make much difference depending on how you do the math, whether you squared this or you squared that or you squared that, because you're multiplying all the things you're squaring. All right, how is a square second the unit of acceleration used to derive the square velocity and kinetic energy? Well, we've already seen how they do it, and it's just convoluted bullshit. First you turn something simple like a velocity into something else that has seconds over seconds. You know, multiple units. You describe the seconds as a unit, seconds, and you don't put the one in front of the important one. The one that says it's 1 second. So then you end up having this opportunity to multiply a second times a second, obviously, to square the seconds. That's what you keep saying. The seconds should not be squared, but dishonest physicists squared to justify kinetic energy. I'm saying Newton didn't square the seconds, okay? It was 9.8. It was 32 feet, okay, per second per 1 second, okay? That's the ratio. 9.8 with a 1 under it, all right? Not some other number. That's the fraction, all right? There's no squared seconds. But I think you can't answer the question, and that's why you blocked me. No, I'm not interested in the question. I have some right to talk about what I'm interested in, not what you're interested in. All right? I'm interested in people understanding why a squared second is a ludicrous concept. That there's no frickin' logical reason to square a second. It can't possibly have something to do with real geometry in the real universe. A squared unit of time is nonsense. All right. I think you can't answer most of the questions posed to you. Where are they? Yeah, let's go find the questions. Oh, yeah. So, yeah, fuck you. Nonsense. So then Falwell comes back. If the coward answered perfectly legitimate questions, where's the legitimacy in the question? I'm just posing it. I'm saying, what, do you want me to replay Piro's video where he does the math wrong, by the way? Or do you want me to replay the half hour of bullshit that the 5 minutes it was supposed to be, by the stupid, whatever it's, McTooney nut? Should I play that video where he again makes mistakes too? Because they have to do their little fucking sloppy crap very carefully to end up with their contrived notion that somehow mv is turned into 1/2 mv squared and somehow it's Newton's formula, which it isn't. All right, he would have to admit he is wrong. So I know I am right that Newton didn't think you square velocity. So that's just not a fact that Newton thought that was the quantity conserved. He clearly thought twice the force, twice the velocity, 3 times the force, 3 times the velocity. So he hides away. So that's just bullshit. I'm not hiding anywhere. So again, I've made a bunch of these 5-minute videos, and all you have to do is debunk one of them, and you can't. Fail, fail, fail. All right, so Jerry Hall's going to dig his hole even deeper. And he says, biggest momentum always wins the tug of war. And it always pushes the rockets, and it always moves the ballistic pendulum, and it always does everything. That's right. Momentum wins. Momentum works. Momentum does work. Okay, you can't stop a bowling ball with a bullet, even if the bullet has 1,000 times more energy. Well, you should say 1,000 times more momentum. You're still not getting it. If it can't ever be collected, that is, nothing can ever collect it. With all our technology, we can't collect it. We can't convert the kinetic energy into momentum. I mean, into a momentum commensurate with the joule number. Just a fact. We can't collect it. What fucking good could the energy possibly be if you can't collect it and use it? All right. A train is hard to stop no matter how slow it moves. There's more nonsense, like it's all the same. It's obviously not the same. The faster it's moving, the harder it's going to be to stop. Duh. I mean, this is so fucking dumb. Momentum means how difficult it is to stop something or make it move. So again, there's nothing difficult or a problem. Again, you have to just understand that yes, big things require more energy to move than little things. Okay, that's gravity. Everything works that way. What hits the ground harder, the feather or the hammer? Obviously, the hammer collects more energy from gravity. That's why they're moving the same speed. It's because the big giant mass is collecting at the same rate. They're collecting the same. They have the same opportunity to collect. One has a much bigger bag to collect in, and so it collects a lot more because it's got a bigger bucket to collect the rain, you could argue. Mass is how big a bucket you have to collect force in. But there's no resistance to collecting the force. So again, you clearly don't want to know the truth. Anyway, energy is required to make anything happen at all. So again, kinetic energy makes nothing happen at all. The bullet and the gun recoil prove the point. You can't argue there's a Newton's third law and then say, oh, okay, I can send 2,000 joules this way and 2 joules that way. And it's perfectly consistent with Newton's understanding. Newton didn't think the cannonball leaves with 2,000 joules of energy and the cannon recoils with 2. All right, he knew it's the same momentum both ways. That the cannonball has a lot of momentum, the cannon has a lot of momentum because you released a lot of energy. And obviously an explosion is not all that controllable in the sense that it obviously has stuff going that way that you don't want, and there's stuff going this way that you do want, and you just have to pay the price. The price for having the energy this way is you have energy that way. All right. It is what starts the action in the first place. So more nonsense. So you're so frickin' wrong, and you just don't care. All right. In the case of the two masses tied to a rope, one of them has more kinetic energy, but they have the same momentum. That's exactly my point. And the momentum is what will be revealed to be the only energy they contain. Just like the ballistic pendulum proves, the only energy that exists is the momentum of the bullet. There isn't anything else. It will probably cause some heat in the rope because the energy has to go somewhere. And I stated that. So what? You haven't any evidence that it's anything, any proportion that it took more energy from your side than from the other side. You have no evidence to demonstrate that somehow the magical rope took all the kinetic energy but didn't take any of the momentum. Yeah, bullshit. It is also possible the rope will break. So again, more baby talk. What does that have to do with the thought experiment? That should be a real experiment, by the way, right? I mean, this is so simple. Right? Professor Lewin could do this. Anybody can do this. Right? He does the launching part. He'll launch the two mass and the one mass and show that, the one mass has twice as much energy as the two mass. They have the same momentum, though. But somehow, this one has twice the energy. And all he had to do was tie another string to them, so when they went out, they stopped. And he could prove that, oh, that's right, the kinetic energy doesn't matter. All right, especially if it's not elastic at all. So this is more baby talk. Okay, one thing is for sure, that is, none of the masses will pull the other. So he says it again, as if it can't happen. So again, all I have to do is change it so there's more momentum, and the thing with more momentum will win, as you stated. The point is, it's a clear example that momentum moves things and kinetic energy does absolutely nothing. It's meaningless. It can't do work, ever. Ever, ever, ever. It doesn't launch rockets. It doesn't move or navigate rockets. It can't move a bowling pin. It can't do a damn thing. It can't move a ballistic pendulum. It can't do any work. It can't make anything happen. Ugh. You say the fast-moving mass isn't doing more work. I'm saying the mass with more kinetic energy will not ever, 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 ever demonstrate itself to have what you claim to be the joules of energy you claim it to have, because they don't exist. It will move a longer distance than the slower mass before they stop. So this is the rolling argument. if they are carts, I could connect generators to them and collect the energy. Yes, you could. Okay, it would be a good idea. Brozo tried it with kind of a crude generator, and the problem was it's a voltage dependent one. The LED lights only light when you achieve a certain voltage, and obviously voltage is connected to velocity. So the faster you spin something, the higher the voltage. The more torque you have on the system, the lower the voltage. So obviously it wasn't a very good experiment. I'm pretty sure one of that travels the longest distance will generate more electricity. So, you know, and I'm obviously sure that you're full of shit. So we'll just draw it one more time. I mean, you know, this is so basic that, and it just shows how dishonest these people are, because this should bother them. I mean, this rolling argument, because it's so decisive. All right. Now, we know if we just throw things in space, okay, twice the velocity is going to be twice the distance. Okay. We know that's going to happen in space, right? So in space, something going twice the velocity is only going to travel twice the distance in the same amount of, you know, as we allow time to tick off, twice the velocity will be twice the distance. So we know there's no correlation between distance, okay, and any notion of kinetic energy, or 4 times the energy. It won't be revealed in space. All right, and so, but rolling, yeah, you get this weird outcome. All right, so twice the velocity, same mass, okay, 1v, 2v. And as pointed out, you can do logical deduction here. All right, so let me make this a little shorter. We'll take this part off. All right, this is what 1v looks like. And we know that 1v is going to happen here, right? We know it's going to happen. And where can it possibly happen? Well, it has to happen right here, right? So this is where it's going 1v. This is where it's going 1/2 of its velocity. Here. That should, right there, should just say to you, oh, okay, I get it. There's something really wrong with this. There's obviously not the same amount of slowing down. It's very non-proportional slowing down, because it's going 1v here, half its speed here, and it's did this whole section here, 3 units of distance. Now, it's exactly what gravity does. So if I just turn this way, this is exactly what gravity does. You know, you go 4.9 in the first second, and then you get 9.8 meters of velocity per second, of velocity per 1 second, which means that in the next second you're going to get 2 units of distance for free, because you already have that energy. So if I shut the gravity off, you'd still go the 2 units. All right, and all you're going to get is one more 4.9 in the next second. And so it's exactly the same diagram as gravity, because friction is gravity. The friction is being controlled by gravity. And clearly, what you're doing is you're going through the gravity quickly. And so there's less force pushing you down per square inch, let's just say. Per square inch, there's less force. So in this 1 second, and this will be 1 second, in these 2 different units of time, you will do a completely different thing, right? In this unit of time, you're going to go 3 units of distance, because it's 9.8, okay? And now you're going to lose half your velocity, because it was 9.8 meters of force, and it's going to be 9.8 meters of force here. Same amount of force applied to you, forcing you into the surface. And so it's just so obvious that, yes, the faster you're going, the less contact you have with the surface, because the less gravity you're in per square inch. This would take 3 seconds by this standard over here. So this is getting 3 times the gravity, you could argue, here, that you're getting in each one of these units. And it's just obvious that it's just an illusion that this is 4 times the energy. It's not 4 times the energy. You're just extracting the energy, okay, at a slower rate here, and it gets faster and faster as you go slower and slower. The slower you go, the heavier you are, the more weight you're putting on the ground, the more contact you have with the ground, the more energy you lose to the ground. All right. So I probably should draw that curve the other way around in terms of the friction curve. So this is how you're losing your energy, but if you were to look at a friction curve, it would be curving this way. Your friction's increasing as your velocity decreases. Simple enough. But yeah, okay, this is what they're calling good science, is let's be fooled by the fact that it goes 4 times the rolling distance and say somehow it's 4 times the energy, when it can be clearly understood that no, it's just this, it's only twice the amount of energy, but it's only twice the time. This was 1 unit of time, this is the exact unit of time, this is the exact unit of time. So it's clearly understandable. It's 2 units of time. It only takes twice the time to travel that 4 times the distance. And twice the times means twice the gravitational pressure. The gravitational pressure is what's creating the friction. I mean, you can understand that if I drop something next to a surface, there's no friction, right? There's no friction unless I push the object into the surface. Then I create friction. Then I slow it down by stealing its energy here into the surface. It can't lose energy to the surface unless something's pushing it into the surface. You have to be able to understand that your footsteps are heavier if you're carrying an elephant. Then you're smashing more energy into the ground. So it matters how much gravity you're being affected by. And this goes all the way back to the simple argument that, if you have a planet here and you're going to do a flyby through its gravitational field, the faster you go through, the less gravity you'll be affected by and the less you'll be bent. And the slower you go, the more you're going to be bent. And of course, you can't get into an orbit unless you reduce your speed somewhere. But anyway, another fact people pay no attention to. All right, so you're wrong again. All right. So, now the problem with connecting to generators on a rolling surface, that's a little bit of a problem. So the idea would take a flywheel, spin a flywheel twice as fast, and then put the generator on the flywheel, creating the only friction. And the fact is the twice as fast flywheel is only going to generate twice as much wattage. That's all you're going to get, because it only took twice the watts to spin it twice as fast. Fact. It didn't take 4 times the watts. And it doesn't take 25 times the watts to spin it 5 times as fast. And you won't get 25 times the watts out when it's spinning 5 times as fast. So it's clearly nonsense science. And again, you're just proving. So I guess thank you for proving one of my points, is that humans are scum. They can't do anything logically, fairly, reasonably. They're just compulsive religious kooks, apparently. And apparently my unique and special quality is somehow I am so genetically superior that I, am capable of making a distinction between what I want and what is a reality. And I'm not going to be, I want there to be a heaven, and I want to go have, orgy fun and all of that stuff, but I know that's not true, that there is no place to go. There's either shit and dead. Those are your 2 choices. You can wallow in some shit for a while, or you can be dead. And those are your 2 choices. All right. So leave us go back to, this. But we'll go find my comments instead. Alright, back. So these people always do this kind of shit. I've been doing this for a long time. I've done a ton of videos about distinty. Well, not a ton. Whatever. 6 to 12. Who knows? Somewhere in that range. 5 to 10. And he doesn't do anything. So again, he says, check distinty science. He's rewriting the laws of EM with experiments to show it. He's not doing any such thing. So he's doing the Faraday paradox with the spinning disk thing to silly and minutia ends. And it's clearly just about induction. It's a tiny amount of induction, by the way, which demonstrates that you're getting such a tiny amount of difference that clearly whatever the inductor is, it's a tiny amount, so it doesn't really have any relevance, because you couldn't make free energy out of any of this because it's such a tiny fraction. But what it's really demonstrating is that it's just the wires. Okay, there's no way to probe a moving system ideally with an inductor. You know, the fact is the wires are going to change the inducting field, the magnetism, and there's just no way to get around that realistically, I don't think. At least he hasn't found it yet. But you know, he's not changing the laws of anything. It's just, what a pile of shit. So I mean, it's just annoying that these. I mean, he's not saying anything, and he's an etherist or some other kind of nutty crap anyway. So his ambitions aren't to fix physics. He wants to make it wackier. All right. So I didn't read all of this, but might as well. Oh, look, it's a lot. Okay. I find your work interesting, dude. Well, I'm not your dude. Okay. I really don't think anybody. I would never call somebody a dude unless I wanted to kind of pretend they were a kid or a moron. I mean, that's the only reason I'd ever use the word dude to somebody. I mean, it's clearly derogatory. It's clearly, you know, you're not, a dude isn't anything like your highness, is it? You know, I mean, it's, or sir, you know, it's clearly nothing like that. So it's clearly just some dismissive, you think you're superior, asshole kind of bullshit. So fuck you for the dude thing. After reviewing your website and channel, I mean, if somebody's calling you dude, you just ought to be able to figure out that you're being dissed. All right. It's clear that you deeply dedicate to the study of physics. Whatever. I'm curious, though. I don't really want to study physics. I want to understand reality. All right. Why haven't you written a book about your findings on erroneous physics? Well, I have written. It's not a book yet. You know, it's not even a pamphlet yet. But frankly, you know, it's so much easier to make videos and do the drawings and do the explanations as a lecture. So, you know, you could argue, you know, what had more staying power, Feynman's lectures or the book of Feynman's lectures? I did both, okay? So, I mean, I did read the lectures and I did watch the lectures, and I'm telling you, you know, the book has more stuff in it, obviously. Okay, it has classroom lecture stuff that you don't get from the online stuff. But it's still, there's audio recordings of Feynman doing his lectures. So I'm just saying it's always superior. Okay. I agree that science is a field that requires constant revision. So again, why would it require constant revision? There's answers to the questions. You answer them, you don't really need to revise it much. So I'd say that's kind of horse shit. Okay, this idea that we never know the truth, bullshit. Yeah, we have narrowed the distance between the Earth and the Moon to an inch. Why do I need to know any? Why would I ever have to revise that number? Why? Okay, and reaffirm of our understanding given complexity. So far you're just talking a lot of standard kind of gibbery talk, the kind of shit people, the talking heads do. Okay. I'm also curious about your decision to remain anonymous. I don't even know what that means. I'm far from anonymous, but I don't see any benefits. I don't have any personal attachment to my frickin' given name. Frankly, I didn't choose the name, did I? No, I didn't. And what possible use does it have except for somebody to look me up and find out where I live and kill me? I mean, besides that, what fucking use is my real name? Who cares what you call me? If you want me to rename myself dog shit, I wouldn't give a damn, frankly. Okay, you want to call me dog shit and we can make that, I'll get used to it. Fine, I don't care. All right, but what I do care about is people trying to invade my personal life and fuck with my life. That bothers me, asshole. Okay, I mean, you don't know what it's like. Okay, you get these fanatics. These are jihadists. Okay, all you people do this. They do this hype. They generate all this fever that somehow this is a terrible threat because he's going to destroy this and he's going to tear down our monuments. He's going to do this. And they turn into fucking lunatics. And that's what this fucking generates. So you go ahead and say something unpopular and see what kind of slander and what kind of jackass behavior you induce in these cheaters. I mean, you can't even say anything slightly politically incorrect without somebody calling you a racist, a pedophile, all kinds of shit. So fuck you. All right. Don't see how it benefits you. I don't see how it hurts me at all. Calling me DraftScience. How exactly is that painful for me or painful for you? It seems a better name for me, okay, than my real name. My real name doesn't have anything to do with what I'm motivated by. All right. As I believe you deserve recognition for your efforts. What does that have to do with it? How is recognizing DraftScience or recognizing whatever my name is? What's the difference? Frankly, I guess, I'll just state, there's thousands of videos. I'm in them. You can see the person making the argument. That's all you need. What more do you need? You don't need anything else. You need my fingerprint? Is that going to help you somehow? Here's my fingerprint for free. There, did that help? I understand if credit isn't a priority for you, but without it, someone else may eventually take credit for your work. Well, how the fuck could they possibly do that? I mean, I've publicly did the work. I mean, every bit of it has been public. Every mistake I made is public, and all of the, advancements in the theory are all public. So somebody just like Leibniz and Newton, I'm Newton, okay? I can show that I invented the damn thing 10 years ago. Let somebody show up and say, I invented it 10 years ago. Let them show up with some evidence. I have video evidence. What kind of evidence are they going to have? Perhaps even unfairly. That's why I don't quite understand your choice to stay in the shadows. How is this in the shadows? I mean, it's just hilarious. He calls making YouTube videos in the shadows. I mean, amazing. Regardless, I'm enthusiastic to keep learning more about physics. It's always surprising to me that there's no real consensus within the scientific... I mean, that's even hilarious. There's a gigantic consensus about wacky stuff, like entanglement. Where's the physicist who doesn't think entanglement is real? Where's the physicist who actually can concede that, photons really can't be waving? I mean, besides Feynman, right? Richard Feynman says, it's not a wave. Where is any other physicist agreeing with Feynman? No, none. Thank you for sharing your insights with the world. I'm from Canada. I'm also got Canadian blood in me, but by the way, keep up the great work. Well, I think you said that already, but okay, fine. Yeah. So, and this guy says, if you sign up for YouTube Premium, why the fuck would I pay YouTube a penny? Okay, it's the evil. Google is an evil corporation. I'm not going to pay it anything voluntarily. Whatever the name, then you can avoid most of the ads. Again, I'm not complaining about the ads, okay? It's not a problem for me. I'm just saying when I'm making a video, obviously it's going to be a problem for people in the audience. They don't want to hear those ads, and they don't want the interruptions in the scientific conversation, do they? So that's clear. But I already pointed out I could have downloaded the videos. I just didn't go the trouble. Costs a little bit. Well, yeah, a little bit for the rest of your life, fucker. You're renting? Fuck you. I'm not doing that. For me, it's been worth it. Well, that's you. Okay. It wouldn't be worth it for me. So I didn't even understand this one. You should probably just start making videos that blatantly talk about the philosophy of science. And I mean, there's no such thing as the philosophy of science. There's only one thing, the truth. There's only one way to find the truth, and that's to do careful investigation of the facts. To bang on things, to, take the fingerprints, to do the genetic crap, do this, do that, do testing, see what's plausible. You find something over there that's supposed to be over there, and you try to figure out, how much energy would it take to move it from here to there? Could a woman pick that up, or could a man? Or you do lots of things. That's how you investigate, and you find the truth. That's what I'm trying to do. Why would I talk about something other than that? That's exactly what I'm talking about. I'm talking about, in this particular case, the physical science, physics, and their bullshit axioms that are completely untrue. Okay. Instead of continually considering people who don't care about the horrible philosophy they are using in their work. I don't even know what that means, but fine, whatever. I'm doing physics videos. The channel's called DraftScience. The website's Draft Physics and Draft and Debate Physics. It's all perfectly tied up, and it really doesn't need to be fixed. Okay, I'm doing exactly what I'm supposed to do. I'm making physics arguments. I'm getting harassed and antagonized by people who aren't making physics arguments. That's not my problem. Their inability to stay on the subject isn't my fault. I'm doing my part of the bargain. They're not doing their part of the bargain. They can't make a video response to me as I make video responses to them. I just made like 6 or 7 in a row response videos to people proselytizing bullshit, and I pointed out how it's bullshit. So I'm doing the right thing. They're doing shit. Okay. Fact. And the audience is useless shit, because they don't do what they need to do, which is to say, damn, they really should do these experiments. Why don't they? Yes, show me. You should be able to collect more than 0.06% of the bullet's energy. If the bullet has 2,000 joules of energy, you should be able to collect more than 1.7. I mean, that's just complete bullshit. 2,000 and you got 1.7? Come on. That's ludicrous. You can't do better than that? So show me the energy or quit saying it has it. All right. Ah, fuck. So, I mean, I could go even into the gravity thing, because this isn't, this one's, like I said, didn't occur to me until just recently. And it's really interesting that none of these people have figured out the simple fact that gravity heats big objects. It heats small ones too, but I mean, and it's so obvious that it would heat them because it's so obvious that it creates energy. So, I mean, you have a material object, and as it gets heavier and heavier and heavier, it gets more and more massive, and it's, in fact, creating more of an obstacle for energy to get through it, which means it's creating more of a differential in the force between the pressure coming in, okay, and the pressure going out, okay, and that's all there is. And the fact is yes, eventually it'll go to equilibrium, but we're in the present, and there is no equilibrium. There's more pressure going in than is coming out, because there's a bunch of these little arrows inside the ear, and they're all tug-of-warring with each other. They're all, with the little ribbons going back and forth, back and forth, back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. It's a bunch of energy in here, and that's why the Earth is molten. It's not molten because of some past event. It couldn't stay hot for billions of years and never radiate its heat. That's nonsense. So it's actively being fueled. The fuel in the Earth is being fueled. The sun is being fueled constantly by gravity. Gravity's putting the pressure in. Gravity's crushing the hydrogen into neutrons. Constantly. High pressure, big giant mass, high pressure in the center, create lots of heat because there's lots of energy banging into energy going the opposite way. And the fact is if there's an electron catching these two pieces of force, the electron has to go this way, and it has to go that way, and it has to go this way, and it has to go that way, until the energy's released somewhere. And so it's obvious that if I put something out here, it falls into the Earth. All of its motion will be created by gravity. Gravity's going to create all of this motion, and that motion is going to have an impact, and that's going to create heat, and then it's going to have a constant pressure on the Earth, and that's going to create heat. So it's making lots and lots of energy. And so how do I get the energy? Okay, how do I get the heat, the energy, the radiation back into the bent space? If gravity is being created by bent space, how do I get the energy into bent space? So they don't have any, obviously that's not the cause. bent space isn't creating gravity. Gravity is obviously being created by the ton of radiation. Everything's radiating because everything has to give back all of the energy that went in. All of the force and the pressure has to equalize. It has to come out again. All right. And the fact is, it's always one day late. It's probably more than 1 day's worth, but the point is, it's always a day late. It can't give the stuff back. By the time when it's giving stuff back, right, you push in and it's creating a delayed give back. So you have to understand that when it starts to give back, you've already pushed in a second time. So the only one it's going to be able to push back is one of them, and the other one's still there. And the same thing's going to happen, and now it's going to push back, but now the new one's coming in. So it's always one behind. The push in is first, and the push back is second. And that fact is what breaks the equilibrium. But it only breaks it for that period of time. For that moment, it's one behind. But it won't be one behind if we stop everything tomorrow. Then the Earth radiates all its heat, and it's cold as, it's cold. But the point is it radiates all its heat, and where can its heat go, though? Its heat's going to hit Mars, and its heat's going to hit all the other planets and all the other places in space to hit. So, yeah, you can't get rid of the heat because there's all kinds of matter in the universe that's going to collect the heat. So you really can't get rid of gravity without getting rid of the heat. That's the one you have to get rid of. You have to make the heat go away. Then the universe gets cold. Then the universe doesn't have gravity. All right. Big. I mean, this is I'm sitting here saying, okay, so I am the only person on Earth that could figure that out. The only one? It's just kind of miraculous to sit here and just say, shit, none of you people, no one could figure out that Einstein's whole bent space theory is completely defeatable by just understanding that it creates real heat. And you have to somehow convert the real heat into bent space, which is nonsensical. So obviously it's the heat that's creating the gravity. And it's just a cycle. Mass compresses everything, okay? And the compression is essentially storage of energy. It's taking stuff that would be free in the universe and having it compress objects. And then those objects radiate it back out into the universe a second later. Yeah, that's the key. Oh. So it's a perfectly in perfect equilibrium, the amount of force going into objects and the amount of radiation coming out of objects, but only if you allow the second piece of time. In this unit of present, it's still one behind. And it won't catch up until you go another second where you're not applying a force and you allow the radiation. Then you're at equilibrium. I mean, it's just so funny. My life is just so miserable, and that's all I'm going to get is a miserable existence out of this. And and apparently I have done things that are incredibly simple, but not for you idiots. I mean, I like to say, oh, gee, I must have been very clever and very smart. But when I figure it out and I say, gee, how the fuck could I be the only person that figured that out? That obviously heat is creating gravity. Duh. Amazing. That there is no entropy because everything, yes, it looks like everything goes from being a laser beam into being diffracted and scattered and into little tiny bits of heat. But the fact is the planets and the sun are doing it right in front of you where they're collecting that heat, okay, and compressing, creating lots of, compression, convergences. So where the energy is diverging out of the sun, there's lots of places where the gravity is converging the matter into consolidations. So the expansion and contraction thing is just constantly happening. Energy pushing matter into matter, and then the release of that energy when that matter moves out in diverse directions. Consolidated heat, unconsolidated heat, something like that maybe is the way to say it. Heat, dense heat, and scattered heat. Yeah, it's the same amount of heat. I don't know how else to say this. Well, it doesn't really matter. But, and understanding the whole Kelvin thing, understanding that we have a perception of cold, like, 30 degrees is cold. Well, 30 degrees Fahrenheit. Okay, so let's go even colder. Minus 20 degrees is cold for us, but that's like 2,000 Kelvin. Okay, I mean that's still a ton of heat is in a system that's minus 30 degrees. There's a ton of heat still in it, and that's the part we eludes our understanding, just because from our perspective that's really, really cold. All right, well, anyway, enough. Till the next time and such. And God, I just hate this planet. Hate it here. Just hate being among you, scum. Hate it.